Pyramidology is a term used to refer to various pseudo-scientific speculations regarding pyramids, most often the Giza Necropolis and the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. Some pyramidologists also concern themselves with the monumental structures of pre-Columbian America and the temples of Southeast Asia. Scientists of 2015 update regard pyramidology as pseudoscience. They view pyramidological hypotheses as sensationalist, inaccurate or wholly deficient in empirical analysis and application of the scientific method. Some pyramidologists claim that the Great Pyramid of Giza has encoded within it predictions for the exodus of Moses from Egypt, the crucifixion of Jesus, the start of World War I, the founding of modern-day Israel in 1948, and future events including the beginning of Armageddon, discovered by using what they call pyramid inches to calculate the passage of time. Pyramidology reached its peak by the early 1980s. Interest revived when in 1992 and 1993 Rudolf Gantenbrink sent a miniature remote-controlled robot rover, known as up one of the air shafts in the Queen's Chamber of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Up discovered the shaft closed off by a stone block with decaying copper hooks attached to the outside. In 1994 Robert Bauval published the book The Orion Mystery, attempting to prove that the pyramids on the Giza Plateau were built to mimic the stars in the belt of the constellation Orion, a claim that came to be known as the Orion correlation theory. Both Gantenbrink and Bauval have spurred greater interest in pyramidology. Types of pyramidology. The main types of pyramidological accounts involve one or more aspects, which include metrological theories regarding the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza by hypothetical geometric measurements, numerological theories that the measurements of the Great Pyramid and its passages have esoteric significance, and that their geometric measurements contain some encoded message. This form of pyramidology is popular within Christian pyramidology. Pyramid power. Claims originating in the late 1960s that pyramids as geometrical shapes possess supernatural powers. Pseudoarchaeological. Varying theories that deny the pyramids were built to serve exclusively as tombs for the pharaohs. Alternative explanations regarding the construction of the pyramids, and hypotheses that they were built by someone other than the historical ancient Egyptians. History. Metrological pyramidology dates to the 17th century. John Greaves, a professor of geometry at Gresham College, London, first took precise measurements of the Great Pyramid at Giza using the best mathematical instruments of the day. His data was published in Pyramidology, which theorized a geometric cubit was used by the builders of the Great Pyramid. While Greaves' measurements were objective, his metrological data was later misused by numerologists. J. Greaves in his Pyramidology, 1646, made an objective description of these structures, but using his measurements. Some philosophers started to propose a more subjective reading of them. Kircher suggested that they had mystical and hidden meanings. Th. Shaw thought the Great Pyramid was a temple to Osiris. I. Newton created the concept of sacred code to denote one of the two supposed instruments used to erect them. John Taylor in his work The Great Pyramid, Why Was It Built? And Who Built It? John Taylor described a possible connection with the dimensions of the pyramid and the golden ratio. He also proposed that the inch used to build the Great Pyramid was 1/25 of the sacred cubit. Taylor was also the first to claim the pyramid was divinely inspired, contained a revelation and was built not by the Egyptians, but instead the Hebrews, pointing to biblical passages to support his theories. For this reason Taylor is often credited as being the founder of pyramidology. Martin Gardner noted, Christian pyramidology, British Israelism. Taylor in turn influenced the Astronomer Royal of Scotland Charles Piat C. Smith, FRSE, FRAS, who made numerous numerological calculations on the pyramid and published them in a 664-page book, Our Inheritance in the Great Pyramid, followed by Life and Work in the Great Pyramid. These two works fused pyramidology with British Israelism, and Smith first linked the hypothetical pyramid inch to the British metric system. Smith's theories were later expanded upon by early 20th century British Israelites such as Colonel Garnier, who began to theorize that chambers within the Great Pyramid contain prophetic dates which concern the future of the British, Celtic, or Anglo-Saxon peoples. However, this idea originated with Robert Menzies, an earlier correspondent of Smith's. David Davidson with H. Aldersmith wrote The Great Pyramid, its divine message, and further introduced the idea that Britain's chronology may be unlocked from inside the Great Pyramid. This theme is also found in Basil Stewart's trilogy on the same subject. Witness of the Great Pyramid, The Great Pyramid, its construction, symbolism and chronology, and history and significance of the Great Pyramid. More recently, a 4-volume set entitled Pyramidology was published by British Israelite Adam Rutherford. British Israelite author E. Raymond Captain also wrote Great Pyramid Decoded in 1971, followed by Study in Pyramidology in 1986. Joseph A. Seiss. Joseph Seiss was a Lutheran minister who was a proponent of pyramidology. He wrote A Miracle in Stone, or The Great Pyramid of Egypt, in 1877. His work was popular with contemporary evangelical Christians. Charles Taze Russell. In 1891, pyramidology reached a global audience when it was integrated into the works of Charles Taze Russell, founder of the Bible student movement. Russell, however, denounced the British Israelite variant of pyramidology in an article called The Anglo-Israelitish Question. Adopting Joseph Seiss's designation that the Great Pyramid of Giza was the Bible in stone, Russell taught that it played a special part in God's plan during the last days, basing his interpretation on Isaiah chapter 19 verses 19 to 20, which says, "In that day shall there be an altar to the Lord in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to the Lord. And it shall be for a sign, and for a witness unto the Lord of hosts in the land of Egypt." Two brothers, archaeologists John and Morton Edgar, as personal associates and supporters of Russell, wrote extensive treatises on the history, nature, and prophetic symbolism of the Great Pyramid in relation to the then-known archaeological history, along with their interpretations of prophetic and biblical chronology. They are best known for their 2-volume work Great Pyramid Passages and Chambers, published in 1910 and 1913. Although most Bible student groups continue to support and endorse the study of pyramidology from a biblical perspective, the Bible students associated with the Watchtower Society, who chose Jehovah's Witnesses as their new name in 1931, have abandoned pyramidology entirely since 1928. Pyramid power. Another set of speculations concerning pyramids have centered upon the possible existence of an unknown energy concentrated in pyramidical structures. Pyramid energy was popularized in the early 1970s, particularly by New Age authors such as Patrick Flanagan, Max Toth, and Greg Nielsen and Warren Smith. These works focused on the alleged energies of pyramids in general, not solely the Egyptian pyramids. Toth and Nielsen, for example, reported experiments where seeds stored in pyramid replicas germinated sooner and grew higher. Pseudoarchaeology. Lewis Spence, in his An Encyclopedia of Occultism, summed up on the earliest of pseudoarchaeological claims on the ancient Egyptian pyramids as follows. In the 1880s, Ignatius Donnelly had suggested that the Great Pyramid had been built by the descendants of the Atlanteans. That idea was picked up in the 1920s by Manly Palmer Hall, who went on to suggest that they were the focus of the ancient Egyptian wisdom schools. Edgar Cayce built upon Hall's speculations. Ignatius Donnelly and later proponents of the hyperdiffusionist view of history claimed that all pyramid structures across the world had a common origin. Donnelly claimed this common origin was in Atlantis. while Grafton Elliott Smith claimed Egypt, writing, "Small groups of people, moving mainly by sea, settled at certain places and there made rude imitations of the Egyptian monuments of the Pyramid Age." Ancient astronauts. Several proponents of ancient astronauts claim that the Great Pyramid of Giza was constructed by extraterrestrial beings, or influenced by them. Proponents include Eric von Daniken, Robert Charu, Raymond Drake, and Zechariah Sitchin. According to Eric von Daniken, the Great Pyramid has advanced numerological properties which could not have been known to the ancient Egyptians and so must have been passed down by extraterrestrials. The height of the Pyramid of Cheops, multiplied by 1,000 million, 98 million miles, corresponds approximately to the distance between the Earth and the Sun. Orion correlation theory. Robert Bauval and Graham Hancock have both suggested that the ground plan of the three main Egyptian pyramids was physically established in c. 10,500 BC, but that the pyramids were built around 2,500 BC. This theory was based on their initial claims regarding the alignment of the Giza pyramids with Orion, later joined with speculation about the age of the Great Sphinx. Advanced technology linked to the pseudo-archaeological ancient astronaut theory and Orion correlation theory are related claims that the Great Pyramid was constructed by the use of an advanced lost technology. Proponents of this theory often link this hypothetical advanced technology to extraterrestrials but also Atlanteans, Lemurians or a legendary lost race. Notable proponents include Christopher Dunn and David Hatcher Childress. Graham Hancock also in his book Fingerprints of the Gods assigned the ground plan of the three main Egyptian pyramids in his theory to an advanced progenitor civilization which possessed advanced technology. Alan F. Alford. Author Alan F. Alford interprets the entire Great Pyramid in the context of ancient Egyptian religion. Alford takes as his starting point the golden rule that the pharaoh had to be buried in the earth, i.e., at ground level or below, and this leads him to conclude that Khufu was interred in an ingeniously concealed cave whose entrance is today sealed up in the so-called well shaft, adjacent to a known cave called the Grotto. He has lobbied the Egyptian authorities to explore this area of the pyramid with ground-penetrating radar. The cult of creation theory also provided the basis for Alford's next idea, that the sarcophagus in the king's chamber, commonly supposed to be Khufu's final resting place, actually enshrined iron meteorites. He maintains, by reference to the pyramid texts, that this iron was blasted into the sky at the time of creation. According to the Egyptians' geocentric way of thinking, Alford says the king's chamber, with its upward-inclined dual air shafts, was built to capture the magic of this mythical moment. Alford's most speculative idea is that the king's chamber generated low-frequency sound via its air shafts, the purpose being to reenact the sound of the earth splitting open at the time of creation. 21st century, India. Various spiritual organizations in India have used pyramids as a means to promote theories of their potency. Numerous papers have been published in an Indian journal of science called Indian Journal of Traditional Knowledge by Council of Scientific and Industrial Research. Criticism. Flinders Petrie. The renowned Egyptologist Flinders Petrie in 1880 went to Egypt to perform new measurements of the Great Pyramid and wrote that he found that the pyramid was several feet smaller than previously believed by John Taylor and Charles Piazzi Smith. Flinders therefore claimed that the hypothetical pyramid inch of the pyramidologists had no basis in truth and published his results in The Pyramids and Temples of Giza, writing, "There is no authentic example that forbear examination of the use or existence of any such measure as a pyramid inch, or of a cubit of 25.025 British inches." Proponents of the pyramid inch, especially British Israelites, responded to Petrie's discoveries and claimed to have found flaws in them. Petrie refused to respond to these criticisms. claiming he had disproved the pyramid inch and compared continuing proponents to flat earth believers. It is useless to state the real truth of the matter, as it has no effect on those who are subject to this type of hallucination. They can but be left with the flat earth believers and other such people to whom a theory is dearer than a fact. Alan Alter and Dale Simmons. The Toronto Society for Psychical Research organized a research team consisting of Alan Alter and Dale Simmons to explore claims made in pyramid power literature that pyramids could preserve better organic matter. Extensive tests showed that pyramid containers are no more effective than those of other shapes in preserving and dehydrating organic material. Mainstream Egyptology in 1964. Barbara Mertz, reflecting the views of the scientific establishment, reported another term for pyramidologists. Even in modern times when people, one would think, should know better, the Great Pyramid of Giza has proved a fertile field for fantasy. The people who do not know better are the pyramid mystics, who believe that the Great Pyramid is a gigantic prophecy in stone, built by a group of ancient adepts in magic. Egyptologists sometimes uncharitably refer to this group as pyramidiots, but the school continues to flourish despite scholarly anathemas. The term pyramidiot is said to have been coined by Leonard Cottrell, whose 1956 book The Mountains of Pharaoh included a chapter entitled The Great Pyramidiot, about Piazzi Smith's theories.